Happy Monday. I am Mukkove Johnson, and we're going to talk today about the gift of generosity, and just a particular element of generosity, how it's an amazing gift for others, but what it does for ourselves too. So, if you don't know me, I am Mukkove Johnson. I am a life coach for women who often feel overwhelmed with their emotions and stuck in their personal and spiritual growth and would rather not be. And I've been there and I've learned the way out. So, um, just my passion as a coach to help other women find their way out. Um, so, today, the gift of generosity. So, I'm a huge fan of Brene Brown. I have listened to all of her books on audio this summer, most of them more than once. And I don't remember which one because I've just listened to all of them. She talks about generosity being, it's an element of trust, of being able to trust someone. They need to be generous. But it's also an element of what she calls wholehearted living and wholehearted people, which the description of to me is like exactly how I want to live. Like they show up as themselves and they're willing to love others well. And so this recently have been helping a friend with a hard relationship, and um, something like they've been trying to set boundaries and get healthier in the relationship that hasn't been healthy. And just again and again, it feels like the other person is like intentionally violating the boundaries. And so this idea of generosity came up. And um, so generosity in this sense, like it's not giving of your money or your time, it's being generous and believing that the other person is doing the best they can. And that was a hard one for me. It is a hard one for me as part of what I was realizing this week as I was thinking through this to try and help a friend. Um, I, and it was a really hard one for Brene. And so she talks about that in the book of how like it just can't be possible. Like some of these people, like they've got to be like intentionally trying to be difficult or um, like intentionally being hard to get along with or whatever. Like how can it be that they're really doing their best? Like that just does not seem possible. But it kept coming up in her research with people who lived wholehearted, that they had this belief that people were doing the best they could. And I think it finally culminated for her when one night she was asking her husband about it because she's like, okay, like maybe he'll take my side and validate this because like the research was against her because she wanted to stick with like, no, people are not doing their best. They are doing a lousy job. And I definitely can have that same sentiment. But when she asked her husband about it, he's like, well, I can't guarantee, hi, Casey, I can't guarantee that they're doing the best they can, but my life is better if I do. And so at least in my head, I was like, okay, like, kind of like Brene, like, okay, I'll try this. It still feels wrong. And so what I realized this week when I was trying to think through it for a friend is that with the mental paradigms that I grew up with, saying someone was doing the best they could meant like giving them a free pass, meant like saying it was okay, it was good enough. And that was the part I was realizing that was sticking because like I couldn't picture myself telling this friend, like, be generous, believe that this other person is doing the best they can. And I realized why it was sticking for me of like, because I'm like, what does that look like? And I was like, oh, because you can be generous. You can say, I believe you are doing the best you can, and I'm holding my boundaries. I'm still saying, like, that might be the best you can do, but it's not good enough. It's not okay. Um, and not like someone has to meet our standard. But if they want a certain level of relationship with us, there are standards to meet, and that's okay. And I did not grow up with that. So I realized that was the sticking point for me on generosity was if I'm generous and I believe others are doing the best they can, then I'm like a victim again because they can just do whatever they want and I have to be okay with it. And so that was just super freeing for me to be like, no, I can be generous because if you allow yourself to think that, imagine a hard relationship and I have one of my own. So that's why it was super challenging for me of like, I have to figure this out before I can offer it to anybody else. I have this really hard relationship. It's been really hurtful. And the conversations to try and make things better have just stuck. They've just fallen on their face or even made me feel worse and feel less safe in the situation. And it's just like, this isn't right. This isn't how this is supposed to work. But I haven't been being generous towards them. Like, I feel like they could be doing better. They could be showing more understanding. They could be putting more effort in these different things. And they could. It's totally possible they could. But if I step back and be generous and go, okay, in a perfect world, they could, but with where they are right now and the tools they have, if I believe they are doing the best they can and can give them credit for that, I feel so much lighter inside. And then realizing I can still hold my boundaries. I can still say, okay, you're doing the best you can. Great. If you want the level of relationship with me that you say, if you want the level of trust from me that you say you want, then these are the things I need to see. And like, I believe you, you're doing the best you can, but it's like giving that gift of it's the best you can, and there's more. And I believe that you can grow and that you can do better. So much of the thinking I grew up with was either or. Like, if I'm saying you're doing the best you can, then like that meant nothing else. Like, you just either you're bad or good, I guess. But so the idea that no, I can believe you are doing the best you can, and I can believe that you can grow and that you can, now that you have more information, you can choose to do something different. And whether you do or not doesn't have to change my generosity towards you, but it may change my boundaries with you. It may change the level of intimacy. Like if you continue to ignore what I'm saying, the level of intimacy goes farther away. And I can still be generous that you're doing the best you can. Maybe you have woundings, you have stress, you have, lots of other things I don't know about because like in the relationship that I'm personally dealing with, like it's not a ton of interaction. Like it's an important relationship, but it's not one where I know the intimate details of their life. So I don't know what else they have going on. So I can just be generous that they're doing the best they can and still say, okay, but for me to have the level of trust that you say you'd like me to have, I need to see some things change. I need some different information. I need some different responses. And so if you imagine a hard relationship for you and imagine being generous towards them, and like I guess it almost feels like giving them the gift of being able to grow. Like it's giving me the gift of like letting go of some responsibility, I guess. Definitely letting go of some negative feelings of, feeling frustrated or feeling like a victim or feeling betrayed or picked on. Can let go of all that stuff and be like, no, they're doing the best they can with what they have. Does that mean that that's okay and they never need to change? No. But just that, I guess, like it's having faith that they really are doing their best. And if they are doing their best, then most likely if they get more information or they get a new insight, they will do better because they want to do their best, just like I want to do my best. And so I hope that's making sense. I hope that's encouraging. Thank you, Karen. And just in this season of giving, like starting to practice this habit of giving the gift of generosity, don't keep it to the holiday season, but to really think through how do I be generous and hold my boundaries, and just the freedom and the empowerment that that gives to both sides, I think. And I think that's what God does for us. Like he he gives us credit for doing the best that we can, yet he's always there providing, grow more, grow more, grow more. Like, I have more power, I have more knowledge, I have more for you. And so I think that gift of generosity is how we can do that for each other. So have an amazing week, and we'll see you back next week. Thanks for watching.